What is up, guys? You're listening to the MFCEO Project. I'm Andy. I'm your host. Vaughn, tell him who I am.
You are the mother.
Oh, God.
Fucking CEO.
Man, you've been doing this for how many episodes?
That was the first
That's the best
F-bomb.
you could do?
Well, that's the first and only F-bomb.
Let's try this again.
No, you're going to have me say it again?
Yeah.
I just dropped
look,
one.
Bro.
It's the first. It was my virgin F-bomb.
All right, Tyler, you're going to try it. Hey, guys, what's up? This is Andy. You listen to MFCEO Project. I don't even know how to fucking do it like that. I got to do it like in the rhythm. How do I do it? What is up, guys? You're listening to the MFCEO Project. I'm Andy. I'm your host, and I am...
the motherfucking bitch. Oh, you set yourself up for that one.
My own guy. Like, dude, I fucking fly this motherfucker around on private jets. I make sure he eats right. I fucking pay him well.
You do what?
Oh, come on. The highest paid fucking non-quality producing person on earth you are. It's Mr. MC Sam. Dude, we actually came up with an awesome idea for a shirt on the plane the other day. Remember that?
Yep.
Dude, we're going to make a shirt, and it's going to say MC, and then it's going to have a picture of a salmon underneath it. Dude, we'll sell the fuck out of it.
You know, I had at least 10 people come up to me and ask me, like, where my salmon shorts are. Like, guys, I do not wear this shit every fucking day.
Dude, we were standing there, and people will come up, and this guy's talking to me, and Tyler said something. He looks at Tyler, he goes, MC Salmon? Like, it was the funniest shit ever. And I'm like, dude, we need to fucking sell some MC Salmon gear.
They don't realize that the salmon's actually underneath the shorts.
Here's what I'm wondering, though, is like, why aren't people coming up and asking for Vaughn gear? Vanilla Ice gear.
Dude, it's because you rip on me so much.
DJ. Oh, it's my fault.
He rips on me way more than he rips on you.
Well, that's actually true. So, I got... You know,
I'm just saying.
I got emails about the life of podcasting and riches, and now everybody's going to say, Andy finally corrupted you. You've become foul-mouthed, the former pastor of disaster.
Did you say it?
Of course I said it. You didn't catch it.
Dude, but see, what people don't realize is that this
I was quoting, though. Listen, that doesn't count.
No, off the podcast, Vaughn curses like a sailor.
That is absolutely not true. I only cuss when I'm really, 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 really angry, and that very seldom ever happens.
I think when I'm angry, I curse less.
Really?
No.
You get more? No.
No,
so guys,
they get capitalized.
Yeah. So what's going on with you, dude?
What's going on with me?
Yeah, what's going on with you? I feel like, see, Vaughn used to be freelance, and I'd let him do his own thing, but now I got him coming to the office every day.
Yeah.
And I come in, I got to look at him every day, and he's here, he's typing on his computer with his little fucking Starbucks, wearing a shirt that says entrepreneur.
I don't have any Starbucks
Pretend
today.
business.
Yeah.
Pretend business.
No. Things are good. I think... Well,
how's the family, dude?
The family is good. Honestly, I'm kind of on estrogen overload.
Are you?
I got the two daughters and the wife, and I'm ready to. I mean, my brother and I went to Tucson, so that was fun.
Yeah.
By the way, I was going to tell you, I was totally taking.
You need some beers, some guns.
Probably did 30 shots again.
Yeah.
No, I didn't do 30 shots, but some really awesome fans of the show took me to the University of Arizona, like the bar district, and they wanted me to do sake bombs and stuff like that. I've actually never done sake bombs.
Yeah?
You
ain't lived till you done sake bombs, son.
Yeah. I exercised a lot of discernment and didn't do it too because I didn't want a headache. It's been a long time since I drank, so.
Well, if you got a headache, you would know what it felt like to be around you all day.
That's good.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So, guys, we have an awesome show for you. We have one of the coolest, most handsome dudes ever. I saw this dude on Instagram, and I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I looked like that.
Yeah.
Like, wearing a three-piece suit, cool beard, chucks, jeans, whatever, makes it look good. My homeboy, Bedros Keuilian. What's up, my man?
Andy, thank you for having me, man.
Which is one of the coolest names ever.
Dude,
of
it's
anybody
Keuilian.
Keuilian.
It's in the fucking name, man.
Which is Armenian.
Armenian,
excuse me, not Armenian.
I got to come here more because my self-esteem is going through the roof right now. Thank you. Hey, but in all seriousness, Andy, like, dude, one, you're a legend. Two, I've been listening to your podcast and following you well before we ever connected. And no shit, this is a dream come true, honestly.
Oh, dude, it's likewise, man. I'm super glad we connected. It's funny how we connected, too, because I had no idea that you followed me. And then I got tagged in a post of you standing in front of like 300 books that you bought of Otis and Charlie books that you bought for your kid's school.
Yeah. So I bought the first copy for my daughter, and she liked it. And as I went through it, I'm like, holy smokes! And I took it to the principal. My kids go to a private school, and I said, hey, if I bought 250 copies for all the students here, do you think you'd be able to give them out and not just kind of store them in the back? she read through it. A day later, called me, said, absolutely.
So she liked it.
She liked it, and
That's
I said, look,
cool, man.
We need to bring up a generation that believes in winning, that believes in higher expectations of themselves. And I said, I think this book is a really good book at having that conversation with a kid in a fun way.
Yeah.
I said, my daughter loved it. So anyway, she said, yeah, let's do it. And I did. And I was just telling Vaughn, so many of the parents have reached out to me and said, you know what? This is a conversation I wanted to have with my daughter, my son about, hey, work harder, try harder. It's okay to win. It's not everyone has to be, mediocre, average.
Right.
And so your book in Chino Hills at Loving Savior Lutheran School, where my kids go to, has made an impact on those kids. And you fast forward 20 years from now, you probably had an impact on future entrepreneurs right there.
That's what we're trying.
That's awesome.
That was the reason that we did the book, was because I was flying to
it was Park City,
to Sundance. I was speaking at Sundance a couple years ago, and dude, you speak, so like you understand this feeling. Like, dude, you're up there and you're fucking giving your heart and soul to people, right? And you know that only 5 or 2 out of the 1,000 that you're talking to are going to listen and actually go do it. And like, to me, as somebody who really cares about people, it's frustrating. And so I was venting to these guys and that's why I don't speak that much. Like, I only speak if people fucking bring up the money, dude, or it's a real cause. Like if my high school asked me or something like that, I'm going to do it for free. But I mean, otherwise I'm not getting on a jet unless it's like paid. And, or like if you wanted me to, or one of my buddies, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But the reason isn't because I'm like trying to, it's not that I don't enjoy it. It's that I get so frustrated that it distracts me, because I want people to win so bad that it bothers me when I could tell they're not going to go out and do it. And at every talk I go to, I get 50 fucker people to come up to me and they're like, dude, you and I are so much alike. Oh. And I'm like, oh, really? What are you doing? Well, and I'm like, we're not alike. And like, dude, I can't stand that. And
I'm thinking about starting this business.
Yeah. Like, you remember that one guy that came up to us?
Yeah, man.
He's like,
what's the next step?
I got this whole plan,
it's like,
blah, blah, blah. What should I do? What's the next step? I'm like, bro, fucking start it. Like,
right.
And so like I get aggravated. So I was on the plane and I was like voicing my frustration to these guys. And I was saying, I was basically bitching, so, and, I'm a vocal guy, man. So when I bitch, it comes out.
I'm belly laughing right now because you're speaking my life.
Yeah, bro.
You're speaking my life. And it's so frustrating because you'll get up on stage and you'll share the entire step-by-step plan. And then you get off stage and they go, so I'm thinking of starting something.
Yeah.
What do I do next?
Dude,
or they're
literally looking for something more than what you gave them.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Well, they want the magic bullet.
That's right. And and we know this. You and I know this. And every person who's built something knows this. And so I'm bitching on the plane and I'm like, dude, fuck these people. You know what we need to do? We need to make a book for like 12-year-olds. And I'm like, wait, they're already corrupted because their parents are making X amount of money, bitching to them about their jobs, putting in all these negative ideas about money and success because they don't have it. And I'm like, you know what we should fucking do? We should write children's books. And I'm like, I was kind of saying it like half a joke. And I looked around and there was like 5 of us and everybody's eyes are like huge looking at me. And I'm like, holy shit, we should write children's books.
Bingo.
And that's how it came up. And Vaughn and I went to work on writing it literally like the next week.
Right away.
Now we've got, I don't know, 8 to 10 done.
Well, we've got 7 planned, but we're gonna build up. So after the first 7, then we're gonna release ones that are like Otis and Charlie smash faces, or Otis and Charlie,
like the hardcore series.
Otis and Charlie humiliate their competition.
Yeah, hardcore series. For true savages.
Right, exactly.
How many do you guys have out right now?
We have two, and the third one's on pre-order on Amazon.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one that I got, Otis and Charlie Play to Win, is the second one.
That's the second one.
Gotcha.
Now I'll send you a bunch of the first one.
Oh, cool.
For you guys. So remind me to do that.
Yeah,
I'll send them out for you guys.
I'll just keep brainwashing all the kids in Chino Hills. Yeah.
Dude, you know
like
what, man?
500, right?
Why do we
250. The
bro,
number of
that's
students.
why do we do this, dude? I'll send you 250. Like,
oh, dude,
on me.
I'd be more than happy to buy it.
No.
I appreciate
I know
it.
you would, but the point that you've bought the first ones without any obligation or friendship or anything built, dude, that means the world to me because
thank you.
That's why we do this, right? Like that's why you have your show. That's why you do social media. That's why you're putting out these interviews. You're the kind of person who's built great success for yourself. you started one of the hottest selling franchise models in fitness, the Fit Body Boot Camp. How many years ago?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. Yeah. It's a top 15 franchise.
Yep.
Okay.
Entrepreneurs top 15, Inc. 5000 list twice, and we just hit this month Entrepreneurs 500 fastest growing franchises. We're number 350. And as going back to what we said about the magic bullet, there's no magic bullet. No. I bled and bled and bled, and then finally there was a big outcome, and then bled some more, and then another outcome. And I think people don't want to bleed anymore.
But you're crushing it, dude, and it's so awesome. Because like when we drive up and down the streets, right, and we see all these successful businesses. I mean, dude, if you want to know what success is, drive down your fucking street and look at every business. All those people are doing well. Success is not a scarce thing. It's just a different thing than what you're used to. And what I love about guys like you, and I'll toot my own horn, guys like me, and even guys like, you know, the other guys I do shit with, like Gary or fucking Grant or any of these guys, what I love about them is that those people are willing to share the journey, the recipe, whatever you want to call it, because they love seeing people win. And yes, there is people out there that make money on that shit. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that because, like, let's say, like, I've heard people bitch at me about Grant. They're like, oh, Grant's university is 30 grand. Dude, Grant's university will teach you how to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Your traditional university is going to put you 200 grand in debt and teach you nothing. So, I mean, you've got to look at it relatively. But the point is that he doesn't have to fucking do that. Dude, Grant's worth $700 million or some crazy shit.
Yeah, but people will always find a reason to bitch because they need an excuse to stay mediocre.
But, dude, we're living in such a fucking cool time. We're like, when you grew up and I grew up, we didn't have fucking podcasts. We didn't have Gary Vee to watch. We didn't have, I had Tony Robbins, dude, books.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying? Did you read his stuff?
I had Tony Robbins books, and I would buy his CDs that were burnt off eBay because I couldn't afford the actual legit ones.
I got the same thing.
There you go.
I got
probably bought it from the same guy.
I still have the fucking folder with all the burnt CDs in it. I still got it in my house. In fact, I should take a picture of it and show everybody. Like, I couldn't. My mom gave me the first set, which was Personal Power. It was a 7-day program.
I remember that.
And then, which was fucking awesome. It's funny because I look at it now and I'm like, yeah, no shit. Like, it's all common sense shit. But like, I didn't know that as a fucking 17-year-old kid. And that's all we had, right? But now these people are so bombarded with information that it's almost like, I wonder if they're like, it's like drinking out of a fire hose. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't know where to take it from and how to get it, you know?
They don't know. The truth, I believe, is that they don't know how good they have it. Imagine if Warren Buffett had a platform that us, when we were younger, right? Warren Buffett's like, here's what I'm doing next. And then I did this, and then I did that. We didn't have that.
No, dude.
We are and I don't want to sound pompous, we are the Warren Buffett of our time right now.
Yeah.
And the soon-to-be or want-to-be entrepreneurs have access to this information, but they think we're still holding out. Now, Andy's holding out. He taught me how to do everything, but he's holding out on the magic bullet to have all those Lamborghinis and whatever. Yeah. No, he's not, dude. He's fucking sharing it.
Dude, and you know why I'm willing to share it? Because when we first started the podcast, some of the guys here in the company were like, bro, you're giving away the recipe. Like, why would you do that? And I said, you know why? Because I know that our competitors will not fucking execute on it because it's too hard. Yep. It's simple. A, B, C, D, but it's too fucking hard. And like, I believe that it takes a certain amount of grit, persistence, and perseverance and willingness to suffer to go through that process. And I don't see that in any of my competitors. No offense, guys. I just don't fucking see it because I know they're listening. You know what I'm saying? I mean, dude. So without continuing to bullshit about this, like, let's talk about you and like where you came from, and then we'll get into the business. You know what I'm saying? So like, where are you from? What kind of upbringing did you have? I mean, did you come from privilege? Did you come from fucking Armenia with golden fucking backpack on and like everybody thinks, or did you actually have to fucking do shit?
Well, you know what's funny is my father was a member of the Communist Party in Armenia. Armenia was under Soviet Union.
I just read an awesome book on communism that Vaughn gave me. But
really? Wait, what's the book called? I'm curious.
Dedication and Leadership by Douglas Hyde.
Okay. Yeah. By whom?
By Douglas Hyde.
I'll send it to you.
Cool.
It's
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
It's not about like me becoming a communist. It's just understanding the process. Yeah. Right. But anyway.
Next month we see that Andy's a communist.
I disagree.
Like, what the fuck happened? I was just over there.
Yeah. It's basically what communists use for evil, we can use for good.
Yeah.
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 It's a leadership book.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I know we're going to go down a rabbit hole for a second, but
keep going. I'm sorry.
I studied how Hitler came into power, and it was through the youth. Like he would go into villages when he was still a general.
This is what we talked. This is what the book's about. So the book is about how all youth are idealists.
Yes.
They see the world and this is you if you're listening. You just are. If you're under 20, if you're under 25, I would say if you're under 22, you haven't got a taste of the way things are, so you see the world as something that it should be, not as it is. And that's what Hitler used. That's what communists use.
Yeah. And it was the youth that put him into power in the future.
Yes. Yeah. And so like the manipulation of, and this is why like I could be doing a much better job, like as far as growth wise, because I tell motherfuckers like, dude, you're fucking stupid for being an idealist. When I really should be telling them, hey, and manipulating them and all that shit that these guys do. But look, dude, it's not what I'm about. But it's interesting to read about those people because I once got asked if I could meet anybody dead or alive and for a 3-hour conversation, who would it be? And I said Hitler. And they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, dude, I don't condone anything that he said or did or anything. I'm trying to figure out how one motherfucker could convince 50 million people to kill an entire fucking race. Mm-hmm. Like that makes no sense to me. Like how could someone even do that? So I'm trying to figure out what this dude had or what he did to like be that kind of a leader, because dude, you could still use those concepts for good. Right.
So your dad came from that. Or from Armenia.
Well, not from Hitler.
Not from Hitler. No, sorry.
Come on, Vaughn. What the fuck, man?
Sorry. Clarification.
No, so my dad was a member of the Communist Party, not by choice, but they're like, hey, you know what? You want to be a member of the Communist Party? If he said no, he'd be shipped off to Siberia. Well, keep in mind that in the late 70s, the Soviet Union was fighting Afghanistan, right? Just like the U.S. is fighting Afghanistan now.
Right.
My brother was about to turn 20 in 1980. And he was going to get shipped off into the Red Army and go to Afghanistan and probably die like every other Soviet soldier. And so my dad said, fuck this. And check this out. He worked at a men's suit alterations place. And they gave him like 30 yards of material. And they said, all right, 30 yards of material are going to make 10 suits, 3-piece suits. He put the patterns so closely together that for every 30 yards, he was able to make an 11th suit. But he would take the material home, and at home he would make the suit, and he'd sell it on the black market to KGB agents. Like I've had KGB agents walk into our house. And I remember that when I was 4 or 5 years old. And they would buy suits from my dad, right? He raised 25,000 rubles, bribed the communist consul, and said, we're going to go to Italy on a vacation, which we weren't. We went into Italy. From Italy, escaped into the American consulate and said, hey, we're political refugees. So I was 6 years old, and I was the oops baby. So my brother's 14 years older than me, and my sister's 16 years older. And that was June of 1980. And we went from Armenia to Italy to 2 weeks later we were in the United States, and my dad was being interrogated because part of the deal was you tell us everything you know about communism, because that's when the Cold War was happening,
and we'll protect you.
Right. And so they said go to California because my dad was asking, hey, where do you want to go? Well, California. I just don't want to deal with the cold anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And so people ask us, well, why California? Because that's where we went, because that's where they sent us, because that's what my dad wanted.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you go through Europe too, like when you ask other, like I've been to Europe a few times, and you know, when you ask like people like that have never been to America, like what they think all of America is fucking California.
Yeah. Palm trees and sun and sand.
I'm like, no. Like you see, I just pull out a picture. Like you see this green tractor and all these plants. That's where I'm from.
Man, I got goosebumps when you said 1980 because my wife, her family, they're all Polish immigrants.
Okay.
Who came over in 80 because Reagan declared basically that anybody seeking asylum from communism.
That's it.
Come get us. You know, we'll help you out.
Yeah.
You know, back in the days when we had larger than life presidents, but
I think there's no argument that we have a larger than life president right now.
Oh yeah. That was not a slam on President Trump. It was just an admiration.
I love him or hate him. The dude's
no, you're right. But I'm just talking about like Reagan's just a legend in my mind.
Bring Reagan back. Oh my God.
No shit, dude. Yeah. Everybody loved him.
Yeah. So here's the crazy thing. We come to this country, and all of a sudden, my dad has $200 in his pocket. The very next day, he's set up with a paper route and a gas station. He pumps gas at a gas station. And my brother's washing dishes at a pizzeria. And my mom is trying to find a way to get me into school. And of course, we don't speak English. We don't understand the culture. We have no money. We're living in some guy's apartment in his spare bedroom, a family of 5 in his spare bedroom. And things are pretty fucking bad. And so people always ask me like, hey, so how did you become an entrepreneur? I changed my whole money mindset. All that came later. But I learned so many lessons being broke and poor. And one time someone asked me, what's the difference between broke and poor? I said, poor is a state of mind. It's a way of living. Like, the man wants me to suffer. Money is for the rich and not for me. Broke is Donald Trump can go broke again. You can go broke again. Right. I can go broke again.
And the chances are we probably will.
Right.
Which is why I don't fucking take shit for granted.
Right. It's just you have what it takes to get back on top.
Right.
But poor is a mindset, and you stay in that state of mind. And so we were poor and broke. That's just where we were. So we're eating out of dumpsters. My job was to go into the dumpsters behind grocery stores and pull out the food that was expired or maybe had some mold on it, but it's still edible. My mom would pick off the mold and eat it. We lived in the slums of Santa Ana in the gang-infested areas, not too far from Randall Pitch. He's in Long Beach. I'm in Santa Ana, about probably 20 miles away. And both were the fucking armpits of Southern California. Mexican gangs, black gangs. That was the only difference, right? And he's Cambodian, I'm Armenian. Neither one of us fit into the gangland. And so the shithole places that we lived in, I got lice one time as a kid. We couldn't afford lice treatment. My mom needed to get food on the table. So she had my dad siphon out gasoline from a nearby car and washed my hair with gasoline.
Holy shit.
But
that's awesome.
I realized,
wow.
No, but I later realized that, you know what? When you don't have food, you don't have the resources to buy food, you get resourceful, you dive into the dumpster. You don't have the resources to buy lice treatment for your kid, you get resourceful and you wash your kid's hair with gasoline. And how many times, Andy, did you have to get resourceful to get this business up and running?
Dude, I mean, I wasn't diving in dumpsters, but I always tell people, man, like, you could never explain it, right? Like I could tell the stories over and over and over again, but not many people know what it's like to have your entire life invested in something for years and years and years. Like, for me, you did a good job, dude. It's been 6 years. I mean, and I want to point that out too. It took me, 12, 13 years to really even get a paycheck. Like, that was substantial. I didn't have the internet, didn't have social media at that time, those kind of things. So you guys could, with the tools that you have, you could accept, when I say, oh, it took us fucking 17, motherfucker, you should be doing it in 7. That should be like your goal. But
I mean, what I was saying is,
when I tell people, dude, it's like oh yeah, that's cool, man. Everybody has that like story, and your story's pretty good. Like, we're making it up. You know what I mean? And you have to be willing to be. I embrace that. Like, when people come to me and they say, oh, dude, I'm this, I'm that, and they tell me their like story, I'm like, dude, that's awesome, because it's going to force you to learn skills that you're going to be able to use forever. Whenever you compete against someone who's well-financed, or their mom and dad put them in business or some other thing, when you compete against those people, they aren't willing to, they don't, first of all, know how to get resourceful, and they aren't willing to go to that low level to like win. You know what I mean? Because it's beneath them. Right. Yeah. So like, when new people start and compete with us and they're financed by so-and-so, I'm like, good. This is going to be fun watching this guy lose, because he wasn't able to learn the lessons I learned when I didn't have any money, and being resourceful. We had a whole podcast on, I don't know what number it was.
One of our earliest ones was called Resourceful or Die.
Yeah. I mean, dude, and that's it. It's like
living on that couch in your supplement store. Right. Like, that's resourcefulness. Right. You chose to do that instead of get a place to live so that you can use that money towards growing your supplement store. And the pain that the couch caused, I imagine it wasn't the most comfortable couch.
Yeah. I mean, here's the truth of it. It's like at the time we thought it was cool, So like, sometimes when I tell the story, I kind of feel like a douchebag. Like, I'm making it sound like it was terrible. It was fun. Like, we fucking were 19. Yeah. We had our business. We drank beer in the back of the stores and fucking talk shit. But we were young. But like, dude, when I look back on it, I'm like, man, I'm lucky I didn't fucking know any better, because like, that was pretty brutal. You know what I mean? And so I'm thankful for those times, but just like you're thankful for your upbringing. Like, you look back and you're like, man, you know what? I just didn't know any better. Like, it was just how we lived.
That's all I knew. It was Spam, bologna, government cheese, government peanut butter. Yeah. And so like, hey,
and now you're looking back, you're like, man, I'm so thankful for that, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
That was the foundation.
Yeah.
At that age, were you cognizant of the fact that your mom was being resourceful, or did you not realize that until much later on in your life?
I didn't realize. I just trusted my mom and dad so much.
That's awesome.
If my mom said, go get on the grass in front of the apartment, double over and close your eyes, don't stand up no matter what. I'm going to wash your hair with this. And I knew it was gasoline, but I just assumed maybe you get your hair washed with gasoline and you do.
Just the way it is, right?
Yeah, like I didn't know any better. At that point, I'm 8 years old. We're 2 years into this country.
Wow.
And so, okay, Mom, I just want my head to stop itching, right? Because there's like lice.
Right.
And we couldn't afford the treatment. So that's what it took. That's what I was okay with happening.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that I think all great entrepreneurs go through a phase where they learn resourcefulness. I mean, I don't really know one that couldn't. Like, even people are like, oh, well, Donald Trump's dad, he said $1 million loan, and they're laughing and they're saying, because he said it's a small $1 million loan that he got. In his world, for what he does for a living, that is a small loan.
That's trivial.
You know what I mean? World, yeah. And to make what he made off of that is amazing. But people hear $1 million and they think Lamborghinis. Right. You know what I mean? They don't fucking get it. Like,
shit's all relative.
Dude, he bought his first fucking skyscraper for $1 million fucking dollars. Imagine that, buying a skyscraper for $1 million.
I'll take that deal any day.
No
right
shit.
Now.
But I mean, like, people discount it because they say, but at that time, he's learning resourcefulness on his own. You know what I mean? Even just a much bigger scale than we did.
But when you think about it, if he's got $1 million, he's going to have to get some staff. He's going to have to, that $1 million, he's going to burn through a lot quicker than you and I did when it's just like one person or two people, right?
Right. Well, people think $1 million is a lot of money.
It don't go far.
Yeah. I felt he sometimes says some dumb shit, and that's just the way he said it was just not smart, because everybody's gonna be like, oh, small $1 million loan. And they're thinking like, oh, well, that $1 million a year. Dude, people still think if they win $1 million in the lottery, they're going to be fucking rich.
How many people say that now? Yeah, when I win $1 million, I'll be set. No, you won't.
Yeah,
no, you won't. You'll be broke.
Maybe if you were 80, you might be able to live off that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just impossible. And it has nothing to do with like my lifestyle. I mean, fuck anybody's lifestyle. You win $1 million, you're not going to live your whole life, because the first thing you're going to do is go buy a fucking house that you can't afford.
Right.
You know, and all the other shit, you know.
But, you know, to that point, I'll give you a great example. And because last thing I want to happen is people listening to this and going, look at these pompous assholes talking about $1 million is not enough. But when I started making
business, it's not.
It's not. Yeah. And the first month that we started making $30,000 a month, which was like in 2007, for my coaching consulting business. My wife and I, the economy was crashing, so we went and bought a $2 million house for $930,000 because the economy was crashing. Yeah, right. Late 2007, 2008, and dude, we bought a house, 1 acre property in Southern California. That's an expensive real estate. Well, I didn't know that I have 4 water heaters, and they were going to break down at different times because the apartment that I moved from only had 1 water heater, and the landlord took care of it. So they're just the maintenance of your Lamborghinis, the maintenance of a house like that.
Oh, dude, it's insane. And like, you know, $1 million a year salary is good money, but I'm saying $1 million over your life, or to start a business with a fucking commercial real estate business, it's not a lot.
Right.
There's far many people that have started with much more. My point is, like, everybody moves through a state of resourcefulness. You know what I mean? Like, we all have to learn it. And I can't think of someone who has become successful that didn't go through that phase. Mm-hmm. I personally don't know any.
So we kind of jumped from Santa Ana to your coaching business, but I'd like to hear what happened in between.
Well, what happened in between is I went to 3 elementary schools, 2 junior highs, and 2 high schools. And, you know, growing up on government food and Armenian food, 2 very bad combinations, like carbs and fat. Right? Come senior year, I was a pretty fat kid. And I was like a pariah. Like, you didn't see me. I didn't hang out with the jocks. I didn't know any jocks. I didn't hang out with the musical guys and whoever. And
so you grew up chubby too, huh?
Yeah.
Fucking fat kids, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so when I got into senior year, I was like, oh, man, prom is coming. And there was this girl named Nakaya, and I had the hots for her. And
that's a good name.
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds like a hot girl.
Yeah.
Like,
she was a hot girl.
Like, hey, I met this girl. Her name is Nakaya. I'm like, damn. That's what I'm going to think. Yeah.
And you know what a young man's mind says, like, well, if I just got in better shape, she'd find me attractive.
Yeah.
Little did I know that you need personality, you need some charisma, right? Because I didn't have any of that.
With some women, but, you know.
The people are like, how did you develop your personality? I'm going to tell you exactly how I developed it. I was fat, and I liked girls. So I had to figure something out. I had to figure out how to make them laugh. I had to figure out how to keep them engaged. I didn't know it was going to work for business.
Yeah.
But the truth is I was a chubby little fucker, and I liked girls a lot. So I had to figure out how to talk.
And you did, and you figured it out and used that skill today. And which is funny, going back to how I said I went to 3 elementary schools, 2 junior highs, 2 high schools. I didn't know when we were going to get kicked out of one apartment and have to move to a new town and go to a new school.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to a new elementary school, you might think I'm the new kid in town. I know that I might be gone in the next 3 months.
Right.
And so if I like you, I'm making friends with you. So my rapport building skills were established when I went to elementary school. Like moving around.
It had to be quick.
And just like I use that skill today to build relationships with the people I like, I value, who I want to do business with, and engage with, connect with. But so it's funny. It's like that was gladiator training back then to be who I am today.
Right.
And so I decided, well, to ask Nakia out to the prom, I better start working out. Started working out, lost 35 pounds, and never worked up the nerve to ask Nakia to the prom. Oh. But the act of working out and losing weight brought out my personality, my confidence, my self-esteem. I started making eye contact with other students. And before long, I said, when I graduate high school, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a personal trainer. Right. Where it gets funny, where I ended up working in a gay bar instead of a personal trainer, is this.
Wait, Tyler left for this part.
Yeah. I read in the back of Muscle and Fitness magazine, there's those fractional ads, become a personal trainer, get certified, earn $100 an hour. Yeah. I could do the math. If I train 6 clients a day, that's $600 a day. Yeah. Oh, I'm good, right? I could eat my protein and work out. I'm good. Yeah. Well, I had forgotten you got to learn how to market and sell. No one ever taught me that. So I got certified, and man, no one wants to be a client. I'm like, all right, this isn't going to work. So I got a job at Disneyland as a fry cook. Now, I don't know if people know this, but Disneyland has a very high gay population of employees. It is why it's the happiest place on earth. It truly is. And I met some of the most incredible. Actually makes sense. Yeah. Because, dude, the gay friends I have are fucking happy as shit. Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? They're just
Tyler's pretty moody, though.
Yeah, but, Tyler's a wannabe gay. He's not really gay. That's why he's angry.
Oh, he's the angry gay. Yeah. Dude, I've met a lot of angry gay
That's just because he hasn't come out yet. When he comes out, he'll let all that pressure come off of him, and he'll fucking be the happy gay.
For the record, Tyler stepped out, so we're kind of taking advantage of that.
No, he's just shaking his head and saying yes.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So it was funny that I became a fry cook at Disneyland, and I was a personal trainer. I had like 2 personal training clients, and I was griping that Christmas was coming up to one of my fellow employees, and he goes, "Dude, why don't you go be a bouncer at this gay bar that I go to?" I was like, "Fuck, I don't care. I work around gay people here. You guys were totally awesome. I'll work around gay people there. It's fine." So I was a bouncer at a gay bar because it paid more than a straight bar. Yeah, I didn't know the reason that it paid more was about once a week, skinheads would come at 2 o'clock in the morning and want a gay bash. They try and get into the club, right?
That's a real thing.
Yeah, he failed to tell me that. The club owner failed to tell me that. And bro, I'm big, but I'm not a fighter. I can talk my way out of any fight. Like I can just make friends with you and you won't kick my ass. Right. Right? And that's how I like things. Let's go break bread and work out instead of fight. And so I'm like, fuck, man, we're getting into fights with skinheads with lead pipes and baseball bats. Like, this is not what I want for me. Thankfully, one of my personal training clients took mercy on me, and he goes, "Dude, I want to let you know that you're an order taker and you're not a closer. And this is why you have a side job, 2 side jobs." I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're just like a waitress." And he used the word waitress, not waiter, to really dig into me. He goes, "You're like a waitress at a restaurant. I go into a restaurant hungry, the waitress takes the order. She's not there to sell anything." He goes, "I came in here, I wanted 6 months of personal training, and you just filled the order. But I see you let so many people walk, and then you go to your 2 side jobs." He goes, "Listen to this Tom Hopkins tape." And Tom Hopkins was like a real estate sales guy.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Right? Yeah. So Tom Hopkins leads to, I'm like, "Okay, Jim, like I'll do anything you say. I just don't want to have these side jobs. I want to be a personal trainer." So Tom Hopkins leads to Brian Tracy to Zig Ziglar, that to like Dan Kennedy and Jay Abraham, and now Tony Robbins, as we talked about earlier. And a whole world of persuasion, influence, marketing, sales opened up to me. Right. And before long, I'm quitting my side jobs. I'm a full-time personal trainer, now trying to open up my own gym. Right. But if that one mentor, so going back to coaching, and I realized that my 3 personal training clients, they were all mentors, because you have to be pretty wealthy to afford a trainer one-on-one. I just never asked him for help. He took mercy in me, and as a mentor, kind of guided me and taught me a skill set. And so when I built my 5 personal training gyms in San Diego, and then ultimately sold them, I started coaching and consulting personal trainers in 2002, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the reason there was this fast growth of my Fit Body Bootcamp franchise, I'm not going to call it an unfair advantage that I had, but I had built a 43,000 customer list of personal trainers worldwide who have bought my courses, come to my seminars, workshops, events, masterminds. Yeah. And so in 2011, when I created the Fit Body Bootcamp brand, I said, "Hey, how many of you would want to just get on my own brand, use my systems, and I'm going to make it a franchise?" And about 180 of them jumped on board right away.
Day one.
Day one.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but because we had that rapport, trust, and I'd given them results in advance with their own local businesses. And so I was really, I guess you can say I was really lucky where the franchise was concerned, but I fucking bled to develop a coaching and consulting business in the fitness industry when everyone was telling me, trainers are broke, how are they ever going to pay you to coach them? I made it happen. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good feeling.
Great.
And all from the skills you learned from being chubby.
That's it, man. Being a fat kid and wanted to go to prom.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It's funny because...
Who did you go to prom with? Was it somebody as hot as Nakaya?
Dude, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I couldn't even ask an ugly girl out back then.
Wow.
Yeah. I would start sweating. Can I be honest with you guys?
Yeah.
Remember right before we started, I'm like, Andy, where's the restroom?
Yeah.
This happens every time on every podcast, Lewis House's podcast, every time. Oh, my palms are getting sweaty now.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm an introvert. I'm still that foreign kid deep down inside.
Yeah.
I run my own event, a 1,200 person event for 3 days, Fitness Business Summit, massive event, right?
Yeah.
$1 million event every year for 11 years. And the night before, I feel like, I always tell my wife, I feel like I have AIDS, my nose is running, my bladder's out of control, I have to pee every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what I went. I was like, I just peed before we got here, dude. But the nerves kick in. I know how to control them more.
Yeah. And
so, look, I'm not going to sit here and say, dude, I'm this totally polished guy. Put me in front of a mic and I can rock it. Doesn't even intimidate me. This whole fucking scene intimidates me.
Right.
Getting on stage every time for 11 years intimidates me.
Every time.
Yeah.
But see, that's the difference, though, right? That's the difference.
I just
people assume that you or I or Gary or any of these other dudes, Grant, and some of them won't admit it. Some of them are like, fuck it, But the truth is that we all have that. We just fucking learn how to control it and go on anyway.
Yeah.
We do it anyway. We fucking do what we got to do, regardless of how we feel about it. And you know what? Every time it works out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I believe that's part of my superpower. It just forces me to be more authentic, more genuine, more transparent. I sometimes get up on stage and go, so I spoke at the Stansbury Financial Conference, and it was all just like old white people with gray hair. And I'm like, fuck, I'm used to speaking to like fitness people, right?
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
These people don't want to hear from me and about, like being a leader, being a fighter jet, not a crop duster. And I talk about all that stuff. And so I got up, I'm like, hey folks, I'm nervous as fuck. I've got 22 minutes to speak, and I normally speak for 90 minutes. And I speak to personal trainers and gym owners, and you're not any of that. And they all just clapped and whatever, and off we went. And I felt great. But I knew if I didn't say that, I'd have just screwed the pooch the entire time.
I do that too, man. I call myself out when I'm like, I just spoke at Gary's event like the other day, his Agent 2021 event, which was fucking great. And dude, I always write like main points on my hand, like when I speak. So like, I'll have like, let's say my intro where I'll tell a story and then I'll tell a story at the end. And then I have like 2 or 3 main points. And I always write on my hand because, dude, sometimes I'll get caught up in a story and I'll have to look at my hand and see, hey, where the fuck am I? Because I start off on this path and I end up way the fuck over here. And I'm like, well, I got to reel it back in. Yeah. So at Gary's event, I happened to have to look at my hand. And I look up and I look at my hand and everybody else, I go, yes, I'm looking at notes on my hand. And everybody's like, and I showed my hand and they all fucking laughed and clapped and shit. They thought it was great. But dude, it's just being real, man. Right. Like they can relate to that. Like everybody knows what it's like to go up on stage and be fucking scared shitless. You know?
It's the number one fear in America.
Yeah.
Is the fear of public speaking. But you know what else I think nervousness shows? It shows that you care. It shows that you want to provide value and you're taking it seriously.
Because I'm financially doing all right. I don't have to get up in front of an audience, right? But I'm willing to because same reason why we were just talking about before we started.
Like when we talk about we get frustrated because only a few people, but those few people are the reason you do it.
They're worth it.
Yeah.
They're worth it. Just like the few people, look, we are tethered to social media with these iPhones, right?
Right.
But we give away the free content because we feel a greater sense of obligation and duty. I do. I know you do. It seems like Gary does and Grant does and everyone else out there who's giving it. We all make plenty of money where we don't have to do that.
Right.
But I really do feel like, man, if someone had given me that, and ultimately they did, Jim Franco, my personal training client, he mentored me. He didn't charge me for it, right? Like, holy hell, I owe it to pay it forward. That's the one thing my dad taught was like, we come to this country, add value, pay forward, and then you'll have all the money you want.
I believe in that. Yeah. I believe that. Like when I say that to people, sometimes they they look at me like I'm talking about some weird concept that is real fluffy and feel goody, which really isn't my style. But I do believe that if you do good and you pay shit forward and you put out value, the money's going to be there.
Yep.
I've never experienced anything to contradict that.
Because the opposite is true. Karmic justice, right? I used to be a big asshole because coming from this country and being told, get the fuck out of here, you foreigner, go back to your own fucking country. And some really bad things happened to me in Armenia between the ages of 4 and 6. Truth be told, I was molested by 2 older boys for 2 whole years straight before. So us escaping to the United States, coming to freedom, like my dad has no idea what he freed me from. And my mom and dad are still alive and they don't need to know this. And I know my nephews are going to listen to this because they're big fans of yours. And they know not to say anything, but because I just don't want to hurt my parents right now.
Yeah,
what's the point? But the point of this, I had such a big chip on my shoulder. I had such anger, and then being told you're a foreigner, get the fuck out of here. And I grew up getting into a lot of fights and trouble, and I ended up knocked out on the side of the 5 freeway. I ended up getting beat by 14 Asian gang members with golf clubs, bloody kidney, pissing blood in the hospital. And I remember, you know what? This is karmic justice. Just because I can kick one guy's ass, there's always someone bigger than and better than you, even if they come in a group.
Right.
And so, well, if karmic justice is true, then so is the opposite, where if I just do good, add value, like my dad had told me when I was a kid. Did
you come to that conclusion because of the negative? And you're like, well, yes. If this is true and I see it happening, then the other must be true?
Absolutely. I saw it in my own life. And my friend Dave, he worked at a golf and stuff. It's closed down by now, but he had figured out that he can sell those little tickets, the golf and stuff tickets, like under the table. And so he would sell like $300-400 worth of golf tickets that were off the record. I would come and buy a soda for $20 and I'd get $400 back. And at the end of the night, we'd split it, right? Yeah. This is like when I was like 19, 20, 21 years old. And then every time we do that, my car would, so I'd get $200 of that, right? My car would break down and I'd have $250-300 worth of repair on a car that I couldn't afford.
Right.
I'm like, what the fuck is happening? When I do bad things happen to me. When I do bad things happen. Maybe my dad was right. Let me just start doing good.
Yeah.
And soon, like, the universe grabs you by the head and is like, hey, fucking start doing good. And
yeah.
I started doing good, and wouldn't you know, things turn around for me.
Dude, I live by that, man. Like, I take extreme pride in knowing that there's not one person, not an ex-employee, not fucking a competitor, not anybody that could say, dude, Andy did me wrong. Andy didn't try to do the best that he could for us, or Andy didn't try to fucking give us a fair shot, or whatever. Like, nobody could say, oh, those guys fucked us. And Chris and I talk about it all the time. Like, dude, the reason why we are where we are is because of that. I firmly believe that.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt.
And sometimes, like, the right thing seems like it's expensive at first, but it's always cheaper than the repercussions, of doing the wrong thing. So
I was just done doing all the wrong things, man. And when I started doing all the right things, I saw how much it helped. Like, great example is this. I bought the book. I bought your book for my daughter.
Yeah.
Liked it so much. Hey, Miss Principal, can I buy one for the whole school? Right? And then my photographer was like, dude, listen, before you take it to the school, just take a quick picture. All right, great. Yeah. It'll be an Instagram post. That was the domino effect where you saw the picture.
Yeah.
We tagged you. But it was just to help those kids out. But then I did good there, and then this comes full circle. Now I'm sitting in your office like, what the fuck? I listen to your podcast. I'm on your podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a great example of that. Just like the opposite was, where I took some friends to go rob a house, and I was a getaway driver. And the lady who owned the house was there, called the cops, and we were in the police helicopter chase. And I was the one trying to get away, and we got caught, and I almost went to jail, right?
Yeah.
And thankfully, she didn't identify me because I was in the car, not in the house. But great example. Do bad things happen. Do good things happen. Just keep doing good. But most people believe that, these guys are just saying that. It's full of shit. What's the real magic bullet?
Right.
Who did you screw to get to where you are, Andy? Who did you screw?
It's a fundamental philosophy that's ingrained in people before they're even 8 or 9 years old, because they hear their parents come home and their dad's pissed off because he didn't get the raise, or his boss yelled at him or whatever. Oh, those guys they're fucking cheaters, or he fucking fucks all our employees, or this, that. And they get this mentality ingrained in their brain. And dude, I think breaking out of that mentality is one of the hardest things for people to do, but also the most effective for becoming successful. Sometimes you have, I say this, you have to start thinking on your own. But my dad told me this, or my mom told me this, and we love our dads and we love our moms and we want to believe them. But sometimes you have to take a step back and look at the real world examples. Right. Like, is this actually the case? Is my dad actually doing the best that he can when he's coming home at 4 p.m. every day and drinking a fucking 18-pack of beer? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, you have to, start to step away and distance yourselves and look and say, hey, this maybe isn't the best person I should be listening to. And start listening to people who are actually doing it. And that's one of my biggest challenges with people, is to get them to step away and look at the world from an unbiased place. You know what I mean?
I can imagine how frustrating it must be for you because of the reach that you have, where you try and get people to look at the world in an unbiased way and say, hey, look, you might have a poor dad scenario, and look at these guys as a rich dad.
Yeah.
Basically adopt yourself and Gary Vee and Grant Cardone as a rich dad through social media. That's what I really did.
Right.
But it must be pretty frustrating on your end when they go, yeah, but, and give you an excuse.
It's just a hard thing to crack, right? They've been in, especially let's say they're 20 years old and they grew up their whole life in a certain situation with certain beliefs that were dictated by them by people who don't live the life that they want to live. But everything they've been told their whole entire life is from people who are quote unquote, middle income, lower middle income. It's hard for somebody. I've started to understand that like their worldview is so fucking different that it's just, you're not going to crack it with a fucking Instagram post or a talk. You know what I mean? They're going to have to get so fed up with their situation that they just say, fuck this. What the fuck did you do? Right. And believe it, I
think one of the things that people struggle with when they're young is that they think they need to evaluate people as either like a pass fail. So if they have someone in their life who's a person that they love, like a parent or something, it's so hard to say, well, I did learn some really bad lessons from them. And they feel like they either have to say, well, my dad was a failure or my dad passed, And I think when you get older, you realize that that's not really how you
No, my dad had good things too.
Yeah, your dad had good, even a broken clock is right twice a day. I mean, he had good things, he had bad things, and I'm going to just
I agree with that.
Yeah. And I think that's why when you tell people, you got to cut people out of your life who are influencing you in bad ways. You're not saying you don't love them or you don't care about them. You're just saying you're not going to be
at the very least, you need to cut out specific things.
Right.
That they tell you. Like if they start talking to you about your income and they're making fucking $20,000 a year, you probably should fucking cut that out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can still go there for Thanksgiving, you still give them a big hug and you do all the family shit. But like when they start in on you on your job or your career, you got to tune it out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So when I say cut 100%. Out, it doesn't always mean literally cut out. It means what I just said.
Know when to mute them.
Right. So that's a good way to say it.
I've learned a psychological term for that because I was seeing a therapist for about 16 months because all that stuff that happened to me as a kid really kind of came to surface in 2013, 14 when I was having these massive anxiety attacks. I went to the therapist for anxiety attacks.
Right.
In 2 weeks, he taught me a couple things. HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. When you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you're likely going to have an anxiety attack. Or the alcoholic is likely to go back to the bottle or the sex addict to whatever, to the prostitute. And he also taught me that anxiety is just anticipation of future pain. Okay, great, got it. His name is Kevin. I'm like, Kevin, peace, I'm out. Right? He goes, well, before you leave, is there anything else we need to talk about in your life? I'm like, no, everything's fine. He goes, so you weren't beat or abused in any way? I'm like, I was beat by my parents, but that's a communist thing. But what happened to me as a kid was, that doesn't even compare to what happened to me as a kid. I don't know why I gave him that golden thread, but I did, right? And so anyway, next thing you know, for 16 months, we're like doing a deep dive into what happened to me as a kid. But one of the other things he taught me, because I said, hey, Kevin, I'm relentless now at cutting out negative people out of my life. And I haven't really figured out what to do with like relatives, family, who maybe shouldn't be advising me about my big fitness business summit event and giving away a Land Rover every year at that event. He goes, there's a word called editing. You can edit the relationship. I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. He goes, just talk about the things that they're interested in. Oh, hey, how's the cucumber plants grown, Dad? How's right? And those are the things that's interesting. So I just constantly change the conversation and edit it instead of getting all worked up and fired up. And then leaving like, wife, pack the kids, we're going, right? Which used to be me.
Yeah, me too, dude. Me
too. What's so effective about that too, and you probably learned this, is that when you do that and you start just asking them a bunch of questions, and I'm as much ripping on people in my own life as possibly people in your life, but when you do that with those sorts of people, they're so sort of genuinely self-focused that you can keep them going.
Oh, dude, they just take it and run.
Yeah, they don't think, okay, now I'm going to ask about Vaughn or I'm going to ask about Andy.
A key point about this, though, is that you have to be on the offense because if you're in business and you're doing something and you're not on the offense, the conversation is going to naturally lead towards your business because they assume that's what you're interested in.
Right.
And so they're trying to talk to you about that, and then all their fucking bullshit opinions that are unqualified come out, and then that's when the friction starts, right? So like you have to be on the offense. Like, dude, talk about them before they could talk about you. Right. And it's a pleasurable situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, one of the things I think is cool about what you do and is that you host high level profitable mastermind groups, and you have built a tremendous community around yourself and your company. I've had a lot of guests on the show, but I have not had a lot that are able to do that. We've done that in our business, but I want to hear like your take. Like if somebody's building a business and they want to create the passion and the belief and the hunger and the drive that like a company like mine has or like you have.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that, dude, because I'm interested to hear your take on it. Maybe I can learn a few things. Because
So it's funny, right? You look at guys like Ben Pakulski, 10-time, for 10 years he was in the IFBB Pro, competed in the Olympia. You look at Steve Weatherford, right?
Right.
The Super Bowl champion. And the list goes on. Well, Lewis House wrote an amazing book, and he spoke at my event. I'm like, Lewis, you got to start a mastermind.
Right.
Or Steve Weatherford, who's now trying to get into a new business instead of having someone cut him a paycheck because he knows how to kick a ball.
Right.
And I got this weird gift of looking into someone's business and then seeing the method to time collapsing. In other words, how do we get 3 years of results in 3 months? And so that's some weird gift that I have that I've used in my business. So I decided to create masterminds where I can pull in people and say, hey, you want to start a mastermind? Here's how you're going to start it, pitch it, and grow it, Lewis. You want to start a information product business, Steve Weatherford. I see what you're trying to do, but you're like all over social media and you're going about it all wrong. Let's create an actual process where you can move people from a product into continuity, where you have predictable money, so that when your wife doesn't eventually go, hey, you're married to your 2 phones instead of me, right? Ben Pakulski, he got off the stage, but hey, he's a brainiac where supplements are concerned.
Yeah, and he's also brilliant about training too.
Yes.
I've always watched his training videos.
Yeah, and he articulates so well, right? It's like, dude, you're such a great communicator. Here's what your business model should be. So I created a mastermind where we meet 3 times a year, every 90 days, and it's real simple. Where are you since the last mastermind in your business growth, personal development? Where do you want to go between now and the next mastermind in the next 90 days? And then what's the bottleneck or the answer or the networking connection you need to help you get there? And we answer those 3 questions for each person. And of course, it's a group of 15 or 20, and I've got a whole bunch of different mastermind groups that I run. And we give them their solutions to go out and implement and come back with newer problems. Yeah, because you're always going to have first world problems, right? Yeah. Third world problem is I used to be a punter or kicker, whatever. I don't know anything about sports.
Right. How am I going to build a business?
Right.
How am I going to survive after sports?
There it is. That's a third world problem. First world problem is, hey, B, now we're making $500,000 a month in recurring revenue, but I realize I don't have any leadership and I need higher leadership. Like that's a good first world problem.
Hell yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's always better when the money's coming in to have problems.
Exactly.
I have this theory that there's a lot of things that are sort of popular right now that they're going to have a shelf life, but I don't know that I think that that's true with masterminds. And my thought on that is that the great thing about masterminds is that there's always going to be this dynamic of human interaction. And so I think if somebody has a business...
I think to organize a great mastermind, you have to be fucking great with people.
Right.
And, because, dude, you're charging people for basically coming in and learning from each other.
Right.
And, like, to somebody who doesn't understand the value in that, they're like, well, I could just call this motherfucker. I'm not going to pay to be in it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But the reality is, dude, you have no idea what you're going to learn at any given time from all these people, the connections you're going to make that you wouldn't. And dude, it's like a circle of like absolute trust.
Yeah.
That people don't, they don't understand unless they've been through it. You know what I mean?
Right. But I guess what I'm thinking of is people to some extent can always consume content. But if you are somebody, like if it's Andy or you guys or anybody in their particular niche, there's always a market to have personal interaction.
Absolutely.
Even online. I mean, even if they don't fly to come see you, but you do it all online, that kind of thing. So you agree with that the masterminds are kind of here to stay?
Oh, I know they're here to stay because I've been running them for the last 13 years, right?
Yeah.
And they literally funded the growth of Fit Body Bootcamp.
Right.
I never borrowed money. I never raised capital, never brought on business partnerships or anything like that. I literally funded the growth of Fit Body Bootcamp, a global franchise, with my coaching and consulting business. And they're here to stay because at the end of the day, if I want to start a supplement company, I'm going to go to Andy and I'm going to say, Andy, can I buy your time? And I don't want to just buy and ask these 10 questions.
Right.
Each of the 10 questions lead to 10 more questions when I execute.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Andy, I tried this. I hit a wall. When you hit a wall and did that, what happened? And I don't want him to be rushed and text me or just short email. I want to see him, feel him, get his energy from him. Like, okay, got it, coach. And I'm going to go execute.
Right.
But masterminds are only for people who are people of action. If they are people of inaction, it's just the fastest way to lose $50,000 or $100,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's it. Because that's what I charge, 50 grand or 100 grand, depending on the group. But if you're a person of action, that's the best investment you can make to time collapse your growth and explode.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dude, you're buying time, right? That's what you're buying. You're buying a quicker path to the result you want.
Yeah, an outcome and speed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dude, I mean, all your masterminds, like you said, are about collapsing time and scaling. Just, you don't have to get in super detail, but what are some fundamental things for someone out there? Let's say they've got a $1 million a year business and they want to get to $10 million. I mean, what would you say, like, a couple things you give that person to think about. Yeah. I'll add on too, because I've got a couple things as well.
Sure.
Hey guys, we had such a great time having Bedros here. We got caught up. We talked for 2 hours. So we decided to cut this podcast into 2 parts. This is part 1, and we're going to pick up with our next podcast with part 2. So look forward to that posting.